Did you have other stuff to do before I hopped in?
Nope, I was just here singing the Spider-Man theme song to myself.
Ah, yeah, there's a new Spider-Man movie out, is there? There is?
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing after this. So better not run long.
Wait, you're not going to a cinema after this, are you?
I am.
That's going to be so late.
It's not going to be that late. It's going to be like 9 p.m.
9 p.m. to start a movie.
Yeah.
That's pretty late.
I am still a youthful 20-something, James. I can tolerate it.
I'd need to bring my pajamas. Probably a pillow.
I mean, those theaters are pretty comfortable nowadays with like the reclining seats, and it's like sitting in a lazy boy or something.
Man, cinemas have really upped their game in the last like 5 years.
Yeah, it's nothing like those little cheap folding seats from at least when I was a kid.
Yeah, back in my day, we sat on benches.
Really?
No, I'm not that old. That's like 1920s shit there.
Well, I didn't know maybe Australia was slow to catch up.
No, I've never sat on a bench, but they did used to be just like the normal, I don't know, like a boardroom. No, not a boardroom chair. Like a conference room chair sort of thing, I suppose. Like cushioned, but certainly not plush. But now, yeah, like you say, they're all recliners.
Did they have
most of the time
mechanism where the seats of the chairs would be folded up by default, and you had to fold it down to sit on it?
Yeah, I think at least some of the cinemas around me had that sort of thing.
Okay, I guess it was probably to help you navigate aisles easier because all the bases were kind of like spring loaded and would fold up for you. But my main memory as a kid was theaters was always especially uncomfortable because if I folded the seat down to sit on the cushioned seat part, I was too small to see over like the adults sitting in front of me. So I would leave the seat in kind of the folded upright position and try to sit on the very edge of the top of that seat so I could see over everyone's heads.
It sounds terribly uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
I thought the chairs folded up for the rubbish situation so that people wouldn't just leave rubbish on the chairs, and that would make it easier to clean.
That's a valid possibility as well. I will say, speaking of discomfort in theaters, the discomfort of sitting on the plastic edge of a seat as a child is probably only the second most uncomfortable way I've ever been in movie theaters.
Oh, go on.
Because as a preteen, early teenager, 12, 13 years old, middle school age, you're starting to like date a little bit, and what is your only date options? Like, I'm going to go to the movies. We're going to go to the movies together. Our mom will drive us to the movies so we can go see a show.
A classic.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, well, this is the move, at least in my mind as a sixth grade, 7th grade kid. It's like, you got to put your arm around the girl's shoulder in the movie theater. But then first of all, you got to work up the courage to do that, which is very hard at that age. But then once you do it and you got your arm around her, you're like, oh, I can't for the life of me ever take my arm down because I won't have the courage to do it again, or she'll think that something weird about me, whatever was going on in my mind. I can't take my arm off of her. Once I do it, it's got to stay there. And so for 2 hours, you've got your arm like up at an awkward angle to try to get around this girl's neck, and your like arm falls asleep and it's killing you the whole time. But I, for the life of me, would never take my arm away because this is too special a moment.
I'm dying of secondhand embarrassment. But I can totally relate as well.
Yeah. But that's not a problem for kids nowadays. You go to the movies and you got like a nice recliner seat, and a lot of them nowadays, they've got like the arms between them can fold up and get out of the way, so you can almost make like a love seat or sofa out of the combined seats.
Yeah,
like, I don't even know what I would have done with that level of freedom.
There are a few different ways they do it with the proper big recliners around me. You either have you turn it into a love seat and you can completely get rid of those armrests between. But some of them, they're paired up such that when you're sitting in the pair, you've got this massive armrest in the middle that also serve as like a table if you wanted to get some food or some drink in there as well. And they certainly don't move. So you've got like 2 feet between you and the person next to you. Imagine that was your 13-year-old date situation. You'd probably be resort to holding hands on the table and then ending up in like a horrible sweaty puddle of hand water as you've held their hand non-stop for 2 hours and been too scared to let go. And probably spilt your drink everywhere because you're trying to do it with your opposite hand,
Right.
reaching across yourself.
I mean, I'll take that over some of the awkward movie dates I've had where I've just tried to hold hands because of a weird armrest situation, whatever was going on in that case. I just remember being, and this is crazy compared to like putting your arm around someone. This seems even more subtle, but it's like too afraid to hold someone's hand. So what I would do is I would leave myself open for the opportunity to have my hand held, but I wouldn't initiate it. So what I do is I'd lay my arm on the armrest towards them with my palm upright on the armrest so they could see my open hand, almost beckoning to be held. And then sometimes that would be received, and sometimes I'd sit there for 2 hours with my hand up and they'd either ignore it or wouldn't see it.
Very passive move.
That's solid dating advice.
What's your sample size for this open hand move?
Oh man, I maybe only a couple times. Most of the times, as a middle schooler, was going for the arm around the shoulders if I could. So
yeah.
Well, this is I don't have a clean way to make the transition to topics, but so I'm just gonna do it. How's Paul? I saw he broke his arm.
Yeah,
or looked like he did.
He certainly did. Which photo did you see?
I saw a very cute photo of what looked like Paul with a real cast on, and then Johannes with like an imaginary cast so that they could match.
That's what everyone thought. But they both had broken arms, legitimately. It was just that Johannes's wasn't so bad. He didn't need to get in a cast. He just had to wear a sling.
Okay. What are you doing to your children, James?
Absolutely nothing. Johannes was thrown off one of those merry-go-round type things at a playground and had some like, sort of large kind of land on him. So yeah, he broke his arm just above his elbow. He had an x-ray one week and they saw the fracture, and then the next week they re-x-rayed it and couldn't even find the fracture, only saw like some swelling around the bone. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely broken, but he only had a sling on for 3 weeks. So that's all good. But the funny bit is a week after he did that, Paul got on the dog. I almost said got on the horse. Got on the dog as the dog was lying on the ground, and then the dog jumped, and Paul went cartwheeling through the air and broke both the bones just below the wrist.
Oh,
so that was a proper break, and he's had it in a cast, and then had it re-x-rayed and in a proper cast now for 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, I could have sworn that Johannes was just trying to be a good big brother and pretend he had a broken arm too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Oh man.
I know. So that's the trifecta, because I broke a bone in my hand earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we got all 3 of us this year. Just Yasmin missing out.
It's not too late. We still got a couple weeks left.
That's it. Yeah. I'm trying to get her onto some play equipment.
some horrible Boxing Day accident.
Is that a pun on the boxing? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I am a good parent, though. I swear.
I believe you.
Thanks. And how do we segue that into flying fences?
Well, yeah, so I had a little bit of severe weather at my house a few days ago. Part of just this, like, seemingly 4 or 5 days of severe weather going through the Midwest of my country, mostly in the evening or late at night, which is very unusual for this time of year at that time. Like tornadoes and stuff, being from Kansas, tornadoes are not that out of the ordinary for me. But to be getting weather like that this time of year is odd. And I didn't have any actual tornadoes near me. The worst I got was some pretty heavy winds, like 70 some mile an hour winds, I think, and then up to 90 in like within a couple hours around me. And I managed to get by unscathed pretty much. There was the one video clip I sent you that it picked up a fairly good sized piece of like a wooden privacy fence, and it blew through the air and and just barely missed my brand new car, and then collided with the side of my a duplex I'm renting. So put a hole in the siding, but otherwise was okay. And I had to rush outside, and I stood on top of the piece of fence so it wouldn't blow into my car, and had to wait for someone else to come help me wrangle this giant piece of fence in heavy winds to get it somewhere secure.
The video made it look like it was either a very light piece of fence or very strong winds, because it just travels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very. Yeah. I'll make sure to get a link to the video shared in some form on our show post. But it was not a light piece of fence. It would have been pretty awkward and not crazy heavy, but pretty awkward to carry by myself. But with the heavy wind at the same time, I had no chance of wrestling it anywhere. My only option was to like sit on it and wait for help.
Were you also keeping a very close lookout for the rest of the fence traveling towards you?
Well, where it came from is where I'm living right now is right next to like the city recycling center. And so that fenced in area that you saw the fence blow from is the recycling center. And they actually had a whole pile of fence pieces just like that. So yeah, I spent the rest of that evening just waiting for like the next piece to be lifted off and blown towards me.
Yeah. And how did you capture this video? Was it from one of your Nest cameras?
Yeah, it was one of my Nest security cameras.
Very cool. Well, cool that you captured it. Not cool that you had your house damaged by a piece of flying fence and all the rest of the craziness in North America with that weather system. Yeah.
Well, lucky it's not my house. And there's a video of what happened for insurance reasons, so my landlord's happy as well. So I don't have to worry about handling any of that, at least.
Yeah, that's good. What is the side of your house made from?
It's like a vinyl one-piece siding thing. I'm not a siding expert, but...
I don't think houses around here are made from that. That's why I was curious.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Quite unfamiliar to me.
Brick and wood?
I suppose.
Yeah. It's supposed to just last a long time. So instead of having to repaint every 10 years or whatever, you just got this piece of vinyl siding that is, as demonstrated by the damage, not very strong. It's just plastic wrapped around your house, but it's supposed to look nice for longer.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Is it wrapped around another structure, or does it make up the structure of the house?
There is some... no, it doesn't provide any structure. There's some kind of like... I don't know what the material is, like a concrete board or something underneath of it, and then like insulation, and yeah, it's all just aesthetic though.
Okay, cool. Riveting podcasting topics. What is your house made from?
Well, this is kind of related. I'm going to look at a house tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Tomorrow morning. The very first house that I'm going to actually go meet with a realtor and walk through, and it's very scary, James.
Legitimately?
Yeah. It's just a very big financial investment.
Oh, and yeah. Not the walking through part with the realtor.
No, I mean that's scary for yeah. I mean, it's like I'm not completely set up to be looking at a house that just kind of popped on the market today and ended up like checking a lot of boxes for me. So I thought I'd go look, but I'm kind of scared that it's going to be really great because I wasn't expecting to actually be looking for another month or so. So I haven't gone through like the pre-approval stuff for a mortgage, and with the market the way it is, I'm scared I'm going to go and like really like it and like, well, too late. If you weren't pre-approved, then someone else is going to buy it tomorrow. So,
yeah.
But
that was the situation around here as well. Well, still is, I believe. If your house goes on the market and isn't sold within a couple of days, then you are way out of the ballpark pricing wise.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, I don't know what's happening to a lot of those properties there, but I've noticed, especially in the last couple of months, a lot of houses go up for sale and then they disappear after a couple days of being on the market, and they come back up on the market as rental properties.
Right.
So what's going on with Apple Maps your way?
Well, Apple Maps in Australia received all the cool features that I suppose you've probably had for years.
Okay. Like what?
So, well, the major ones are Street View, or Look Around as it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic lights are now shown on the map, and
Okay.
speed cameras. Actually, speed cameras might have been there before. I can't remember. I think there was some update to speed cameras, because one feature that I certainly love since 15.2, is that what we had?
Mm-hmm.
Is actually, no, I think this came separately to an iOS update. I think it just was like a back-end update. But I was just driving along the highway. Speed limit was 100 k's an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the warning, like, there's a speed camera up ahead, whatever the phrasing was. And then I was still doing 105, and as I got closer, it actually said, speed camera ahead. Again, check your speed. And I checked the speed, and I was going too fast. So that blew my mind, that it knew there was a speed camera there, knew what the speed limit was, and knew I was going over the speed limit, and told me again, watch out, check your speed. I don't know if this has been an Apple Maps feature for you for a while already, but yeah, brand new to me, and absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience in the last week, actually. I've had the speed camera thing since at least this summer, running betas. I can't remember if they came out this year or last year. Anyway, I've had it since it was available in the beta, and I have been religious of every time I pass, like, a police officer sitting on the side of the road or whatever, I press the speed check button on my dashboard to report it, and that's been the extent of it. I've never gotten a notification until just this last weekend. I was driving down the interstate, and I got my very first message that a speed trap was ahead, and it was like half a mile down the road. There was a police officer sitting on the side of the road. So
that's, if it was an actual police officer, so someone else has reported that, and then it's fed back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in my case, it was like a fixed one that's always there. So it wasn't one that's... Oh, I assume it's like in a database of speed cameras, but it could well have been reported by some people, and then it sticks there.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have like stationary speed cameras, at least around where I live.
Okay. Yeah, maybe the database thought was wrong as well, because I did pass, just yesterday, I passed a fixed speed camera that's been there for years and years, and it wasn't on the map, so I reported it.
Ah, okay.
But then, yeah, how does Apple know if it's a permanent speed camera or a temporary one? Maybe it's like if it gets reported every day for weeks and weeks, it goes in like the permanent speed camera list.
And were you using directions when you got that notification?
Yes, yeah. I wanted to bring this up actually, because you do not get anything if you're not using directions. So even though I don't need to get directions to most places I'm going to, you kind of have to turn it on, or you just miss out on all this stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I got my notification last weekend using directions for the 2 or 3 times a year I need them. So I was wondering if that's why I haven't seen any yet. It's just because I never actually have directions. That's a little disappointing.
It is. I would think that most people don't need directions. I mean, people don't need directions on most of the drives that they do.
Mm-hmm.
I do tend to put them on occasionally, just for like avoiding accidents and things like that. And even just to share my ETA with Yasmin, like if I'm on my way home or on my way to her somewhere, it's nice to share an ETA. So I do tend to put them on. But Apple knows which road I'm on.
Right.
And the alerts for a speed trap aren't so far away that there's a good chance I'll turn before the speed trap. It's not that situation. So yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't just do it all the time. Maybe it's like an annoyance thing. Just because you got CarPlay on, your phone plugged into the car, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to get all the features of CarPlay or maps.
It seems like something you should be able to toggle.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has something to do with battery or something, like just the occasional updates on the map showing your location when you're not using directions uses a lot less GPS power than the full directions, and they kind of need a constant update on your location to be able to accurately give you those warnings.
Why? What do you mean occasional updates? Even if I'm not navigating, my location dot is always up to date.
I just was hypothesizing that maybe there's less frequent polling when you're not actually using it for directions and it's just showing your dot on the map or something. But it is fairly accurate all the time.
Speaking of the location dot, I also noticed another little thing, possibly related, possibly not. But if someone is using their phone in the car, not sure if it would be with or without directions, but their Find My icon in the Find My app is like constantly up to date. It's like tracking them as they go. None of this like refresh every minute or like pull to refresh or have to tap on them and tap off them to try and get the new location. It's
really?
a proper tracking to the second.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
I haven't tried to track someone recently. I guess I'll keep an eye on you and see next time you're in the car.
Yeah, do it, or I'll let you know.
All right.
The next thing that came to Apple Maps in Australia, do you remember a few months ago I was saying that I ran into some guys like doing some urban backpacking with Apple Maps gear on?
Yeah.
It was like an inner city bushland.
Mm-hmm.
Or not inner city, but metro area bushland. And there was even like some sort of update. Actually, it was between iOS 14 and 15. I checked like, what did these guys add to the map? And there was very little difference between 14 and 15. But now with this update, that entire bushland has Street View on every single path. So you can walk through this bushland and you've got photos of it the whole way through.
Well, you have caught up with and then exceeded the level of maps features that I have, because my entire city does not have any kind of Street View.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
In fact, I don't even think that the next biggest city near me has any kind of Street View. It doesn't even have 3D buildings.
3D buildings have been around since like iOS 6.
Yeah, that was the premier feature of Apple Maps, was the flyover buildings, and I don't even have that in the biggest city within a couple hour radius of me.
Wow.
So yeah, you're far ahead of me at this point.
You're going to have to get yourself one of the Apple Maps backpacks and start doing some walking.
User
contributed Street View.
Yeah, if that was something you could volunteer to do, I'd do it.
Really?
Sure.
Such a hardcore Apple fan.
Yeah, I guess partially. I already go on a lot of walks, so I wouldn't mind getting some new features added to my phone as a result of that.
But you'd also have to have a 15 kilo backpack on all the time.
Yeah, I suppose it would be fairly heavy, just for the batteries to power it alone.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some kind of payment involved with that.
Yeah, you get points like the Google Map system, and then you can use it on the App Store. You can pay for your Apple Premier subscription.
Okay. I mean,
yeah.
I'd prefer if I could like pay for an iPhone or something with it, but I'll take Apple.
Ooh, that's the next tier. That's 50 Ks a day you've got to walk for the iPhone.
Ugh. Okay. Well, that's a bit much.
I think those were all the features that came the other week.
All right. Now you just need to get some like Apple Pay stuff caught up. That's what you're really falling behind on.
Yeah.
Apple Pay Cash and the card and all that.
That's it. I don't think yeah. That's what I'm missing. The Apple Pay Cash and the card. Every other Apple Pay feature is already here.
Apple Pay Cash is great. Like, I can't imagine getting by without it now after multiple years of it being my primary way of transferring money around. I suppose there's other solutions like Cash App, but...
So Apple Pay Cash is just sending money like friend to friend or friend to family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like linked up to both of your bank accounts, so I can just send money from my account to their account. It's very nice.
Would you use it if you were like met someone off Craigslist to pay for an item?
Yeah, I would do that.
Okay.
I don't think that it's reversible, so I don't think there's any risk of like someone paying me and then taking the money back. That's something I'm worried about.
That's
things
what I
like
was wondering.
PayPal, but I think things like Apple Pay Cash and the Cash App and stuff are not reversible like that.
Yeah, it would be nice to have, I suppose. Currently, we have something called Pay ID, and you can send with someone's phone number or email address, whatever they've linked up, and the person's normally forgotten which they've linked up to their bank account. So yeah, it's not the smoothest thing to transfer someone money directly from your bank account. Cash is still king when it comes to Craigslist, like classified type purchases.
Is apps like Venmo popular over there?
I don't know. Never heard of it. Well, no, I've heard of it. I've never used it.
Oh, okay.
And I've never had someone ask me to use it.
Okay.
So no Venmo. If anything,
Mm-hmm.
it would be PayPal. A lot of people do have PayPal app and use that to transfer money around.
And so no Square Cash or anything like that either, huh?
A lot of like food trucks or cafes have the Square payment system hooked up to an iPad or something, but I mean, not like person to person. Person to business, certainly, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, it seems like you guys are behind there. There's lots of good apps to facilitate that. If they work in Australia, maybe they don't.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what Apple does in the next few years, but I'm not holding my breath because Apple Pay Cash has been out for quite a while already.
Yeah, a few years.
And the banks here don't like Apple very much at all.
Oh, is there a reason for that?
The whole Apple Pay NFC thing and wanting to get access to the NFC chip, there's a big
the
thing
banks
about
want
that.
access too.
Yeah, the banks want it. I think
I
they
see.
were denied already, but
Yeah, it's like big stores like Walmart still who refuse to accept NFC payments because they want you to use their app, Walmart Pay, to pay for things where you scan a QR code to pay.
I am so happy that situation does not exist in Australia. That
Oh,
sounds
man.
awful.
Yeah, it is pretty frustrating.
Even before Apple Pay was like an accepted thing, it worked because NFC payments were already here, and then Apple Pay is just an NFC thing, so yeah.
I just got the gas pumps around me just like in the last 6 months, within the course of this year, transitioned away from using swipe on your credit cards to still pay for everything.
Really,
some of
only
them have-
just.
Some of them have chip readers now, and like one gas station has NFC now where I can pay at the pump with tap to pay.
Oh my god. I know I've told this many, many times on the podcast already, but it still cracks me up that when I was in North America and I had to pay for some petrol and I had to swipe my card and the card was instantly locked by the bank for fraud because magnetic swipes were so out of date that they could not. I think it was just an automatic thing like, oh, you're using magnetic swipe? I guess it's fraudulent. There you go. Card locked.
This is how popular it is here still. I am going to have to be getting a new Apple Card soon, which I ordered on the show together, so it's theoretically possible to go back and figure out exactly how long I've had this, a couple years. But my magnetic stripe is like almost worn off of this card now. I've used it so much.
Huh.
So I'm going to need to order a replacement soon.
That used to be the badge of someone who like spent a lot of money, like a rich person. Their magnetic swipe on their card was so worn down.
Maybe it just means that Apple's cards aren't made to hold up to that.
Yeah, other cards did it too, though.
I'm saying I'm not I don't spend a lot of money, so it's not because I have a lot of transactions that it's worn down.
Okay, I feel you. Maybe it's the wallet that you're putting in and out of all the time.
Actually, that's a very good guess because it's a metal wallet, so that could be wearing it down quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
It's like one of those things that's supposed to stop someone from being able to like steal your card number from like a proximity thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Was that ever a thing? There was certainly a lot of wallets that advertised protection against it, but I never heard of it actually happening.
Yeah, there were cases of it happening around here, and the technology behind it was really simple. Especially when the NFC cards are brand new, and all you had to do is have an NFC reader. You could just walk by and casually pass it by someone's back pocket as you walk past them, and you've got their card number in theory, at least.
Well, could you actually take a payment with that?
Yeah, probably.
And what's to stop you from doing it now?
I don't know. I don't know if the security's gotten better on cards like that, or if like you have to be much closer now than you used to. But yeah, it's not something I've heard people complain about. There at least hasn't been as much panic about it as there was, 10 years ago or whenever I first heard about it.
All right. I think I gotta have to cut this podcast short and go and buy a square, put it in my back pocket, and then go and rub up against people on the train. You could just like, because it's hooked up to your phone with Bluetooth, so you just type in like $1,000 or whatever the limit is for tap payments, and yeah, just excuse me, beep.
You're providing a service. You're rubbing up on people and taking a payment for that.
Yeah, that's my defense in court when I inevitably end up there.
This was a voluntary transaction.
Gosh, yeah. I saw a busker accepting tap payments in their guitar case the other week. I thought that was pretty funny. I've often wondered like how the cashless society is affecting buskers and their income. And yeah, lo and behold, the busker had his case open, and he actually had like the Visa, MasterCard, Apple Pay logo on the inside of his guitar case and a little square reader in there.
That is one of the very first. I did a lot of silly, gullible things when I first went to university, but one example of that was at one point there was a group of people who were claiming to be like monks on campus, and like they had the shaved heads and they were wearing robes and everything, and they'd come up to you as you're walking down the sidewalk to class, and they'd just like, I want to talk to you about your future and your life, and I was brand new on my own, didn't really know how to say no, or felt awkward saying no, so I'm like, okay, I'll stay here and talk to you, and we'd have a 10-minute conversation, and then at the end of the conversation I'm like, all right, now here's like 5 books I'm giving you so you can read these and become more enlightened or whatever else, and they're like, these are free, but also we take a donation for them. And so I was like, sorry, I don't carry cash. I don't have cash. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. And they pulled out their Square reader, and I ended up paying like $30 for those books.
What a scam. So they weren't actually monks in any capacity? Or they were?
I don't know. I feel like I don't know anything about the religious practices of monks, but I would assume that real ones wouldn't be trying to scam college freshmen out of money by giving them a bunch of books on chakras, but I don't know.
Was it a scam? I mean, they gave you 10 minutes of their time plus books.
I mean,
what did you learn?
Maybe it is. They were legit, because there was certainly other people from other religions that were on campus as well, handing out whatever their holy books were. So.
And did you learn to say no after that?
Yeah, I got pretty good about not stopping, especially just because you'd be late to every class if you didn't learn how to say no pretty quickly to all these people on campus who wanted your attention.
Wow.
But
sounds like a busy campus.
I continued to be swindled out of money, though. I also attempted to buy like a fake ID my freshman year of college.
Oh, nice. Yep.
And it was through a website that was like very obviously a scam, because it's a website. And they're like, we'll sell you a fake ID. It'll scan and be legitimate. And all it is you got to give us like $100 on one of those green dot cards. So I did that, and I went and I got like a passport photo taken. So they had like an actual like official like government photo to use. And
oh God, yeah. This sounds so bad.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, okay. And I got to choose like my address and my state that the ID was going to come from. And it wasn't just me. It was like me and a group of 4 other people all went in to get these IDs made together. And we mailed them off, and we didn't hear from them they said it was going to take like a couple months. And then after a couple months, I sent them another message like, hey, what's going on? And I got like an automated reply back that was like some poorly words like, the FBI has seized this domain because of its fraudulent activity. But it was like clearly just their follow-up like, you're out of luck email.
So the entire thing was a scam end to end to firstly collect money and possibly even steal IDs to then go and create fake identities.
Maybe.
I wonder how many David Freemans are walking around other parts of the USA.
I mean, I guess they have my name and like a photo of me, but I submitted like, what I wanted my fake address to be and things like that. So they didn't have much real info on me.
Social security?
No, I don't think they asked for that. I hope I wouldn't have been that gullible to send it, but I don't know. is pretty obviously a scam in
I
hindsight.
don't know. You bought $30 worth of chakra books.
Yeah. So I had to do it the old-fashioned way and just get an older friend when I wanted drinks.
Classic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, you've got 21 as the drinking age there. Is that also to buy alcohol as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty late, isn't it?
Yeah. As a freshman in college, it certainly is. When you're 18 years old, it feels like a lifetime.
They should really just lower that a little bit to something a bit more realistic.
Well, they went the opposite direction here 3 or 4 years ago. And they raised not the drinking age, but they raised the smoking age from 18 to 21 now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I can't imagine how hard that would have been on people who are like 18, 19 years old and like have unfortunately like gotten addicted, and then suddenly they're not allowed to buy any more cigarettes.
Tiny violin for them.
Uh-huh.
Did you hear about New Zealand's anti-smoking laws that came in or
No.
are coming in? If you are 14 today or younger,
Mm-hmm.
including people who haven't been born yet, you can never buy tobacco products.
Ever?
Wow.
I
know. Fairly intense law to bring in.
Yeah. So, I was just trying to because it's been a long time, but in college, I recreationally smoked. I'm using in quotes. Like I would go to like hookah lounges and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess all that kind of stuff would be off the table entirely.
Is there tobacco in that? I'm fairly new when it comes to hookah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a flavored tobacco.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Out the window. No more hookahs.
Darn. That's a cultural experience they're gonna miss out on.
You're gonna have to travel to Asia for that cultural experience in the future.
I guess that's not too much travel from your part of the world. If you wanted to get to like Japan or something, would you have to fly there, or could you even like take a boat?
Japan is like 2 flights away. Japan is a long way away. It's like 13 hours.
Oh, okay. Wow.
That might be with a stop.
I apparently have a terrible mental map of where Australia is relative to these Asian countries.
I think the problem is it's easy to compress like the north to south distance, but it's actually a really long way because when you look at it on a map, it's flat, but it's actually a big curve. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, you're like if I try to translate that to things that make sense, Japan would be kind of, I don't know, remember if it's latitude or longitude, but anyway, as far as north to south, it's pretty lined up with like where I am. But you are very far south. You're like mid to lower part of South America in terms of where you are on the globe. So that
yeah,
is
exactly.
Quite a difference.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to quickly look up how long would the flight actually be.
So if you want to could you theoretically take a boat to Singapore or Indonesia or something?
Oh, I mean, cruises go everywhere in the world. I could probably cruise to Europe if I wanted to. But there isn't like, just hop on the Singapore ferry and it will get you there in 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, a direct flight to Tokyo is 10 hours. And with a stop, 15 or 13. Yeah,
wow.
About what I said.
Okay.
But when it comes to flying to Indonesia, that is where we make bank, I suppose. I don't know if that makes sense as an expression, but like Bali is a really close flight, like 3 hours maybe, and far, far cheaper than traveling to anywhere in Australia itself, just because of the awesome exchange rate and just the economy there.
So there? I really can't parse how far this distance is in my head, looking at a map. Is there some kind of like ferry or boat service that'd be regular between Sydney and New Zealand area, or is that even too far to even think about hopping on a boat? You need a flight for that.
Who catches boats to even know this sort of information?
I don't know. In my mind, Australia and New Zealand are basically the same country anyway, so I just mush it all together.
Oh, man. I think we should look at how long a flight is from, like,
Okay.
Sydney to Auckland, and then we'll see if a boat is a feasible option. All right, it's almost a 3.5 hour flight.
Okay. And I'm
So
sure
by
a
boat,
would be way,
I don't
way,
even
way
know.
slower.
People just don't catch boats, okay? Unless you're going on a cruise.
Well, I guess there are sub-islands around the United States that the only way to get there is by boat. Like,
Because they don't have an airport?
sure.
Okay.
Is it Marco Arment that lives on Fire Island?
I think that's right from
Yeah.
listening to his podcast.
Yeah. And his only way onto the mainland is to catch a ferry. And
Yeah, but that's like
yeah,
a tiny strip of land. Like, if you put a runway on that, you'd have to demolish all the houses.
right. And in my mind, and this is how little I know, is like the distance between Fire Island and Long Island is the distance between Australia and New Zealand.
No.
And it's like you just catch
in
a
your
ferry.
mind.
Yeah, that's how I
Okay.
pictured the two in my head. Is like they're side by side. So I was like, why would you catch a plane when waiting at the airport would take longer than just hopping on a boat and crossing that little channel? Is basically what I'm picturing between the two.
No. 3 hours at 800 k's an hour is quite a long time on a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
You just like the idea of catching a boat because you live in the middle of a massive continent. That's what this is all coming from, isn't it?
Yeah. If I wanted to get on a boat to anywhere, it would be like a day's drive to get to one.
And that's just sitting in the sales yard. To actually get it on water, well, at least another half day.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about any Apple topics today?
I mean, we certainly could. It's that time of year where not a lot happens.
Yeah, not much. I even just stuck in like 6 topics, but they're all kind of very minor. Might only warrant like a sentence or 2 on each, but I suppose we could mention them.
Okay. A sentence or 2 is all I have to give.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Apple is rebuilding Apple Music as a full native app with macOS 12.2 beta. So this has already started happening for people who are on the beta.
Mm-hmm.
Currently we have the Music app, which is kind of like to silence everyone who complained about iTunes. They just renamed iTunes to Music and then took out the device syncing part and stuck it in Finder.
Mm-hmm.
But really it's just the same like junk backend. Because it's an absolute travesty to use, I find. Like it's just web views throughout when you're on certain parts of it.
Right.
My biggest hate of it is like you can be in the search box and like the view controller, I suppose, is just doing other stuff from what you expect in the search box because it was like loading something from 10 seconds before and then never catches up and you have to research for it. And yeah, that's my hate of the Music app.
I do not use like the desktop music app enough to have any like firsthand experience with how bad it is. In fact, until reading all these articles, I wasn't even aware that it was just web views. But yeah, I'm happy to hear they're finally getting rid of the last of iTunes. Now they just need to figure out what they're going to do with iTunes on Windows.
I actually have another complaint I just forgot about the Music app, and it's probably even a bigger complaint, but like you, I don't use it a lot, so I'd kind of forgotten about this fairly major issue, is that I reckon there's probably a 1 in 2 chance of playback actually happening once I click play on something. So yeah, that's a fairly big issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's on Apple Music stuff. Local playback is fine.
Right. My desk setup is that I've got my desktop computer, but I've got a HomePod right next to it. So I just always like control my HomePod with my phone or whatever, and I've never even thought about pulling up the Music app on my computers.
Yeah. That was our 3 sentences each, I believe. On to the next topic.
All right.
A Pro iPhone should have USB-C. So, we've often talked about over the years that the iPhone is going to go portless before it goes to USB-C.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's been our general consensus, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's certainly what I've thought in years past.
Now I'm not so sure, because the iPhone can do some crazy stuff like record in ProRAW at like 5 gigabits a second or some crazy data rate. So there's no way that it's going to go portless, because imagine trying to transfer ProRAW footage over a wireless connection. Even one that was like wireless in quotes, like MagSafe. So do you think we're going to get USB-C? I think it's inevitable.
I think, yeah, if they can't, because they have, I don't know what this new 60 hertz wireless communication that the Apple Watches have, like what the data transfer speeds are on that. But if they surpass, which I imagine they wouldn't, peer-to-peer, like local networks, yeah, I think they're going to have to do either USB-C or some kind of like a push pin connection with MagSafe, and then have like, I guess it would still be like kind of a USB connection, but not a USB connector through that MagSafe puck. But that would be very silly.
Ooh, yeah. Imagine the EU coming down on that. They would like blow their tops when they saw this.
Yeah.
I think EU pressure plus using the phone as a video camera or a film camera just totally warrants USB-C coming.
Yeah, and to tie it into a topic coming up, this rumor about iPhone 14 having a 48 megapixel camera to record 8K video, you're definitely going to need some fast data transfer.
Ooh, yeah. All right, a good few sentences on that one too. MKBHD did his annual blind smartphone camera test. I don't know if I've got too much to say on this, except that I don't usually pick the photos. So, I don't know, I guess if people aren't familiar, he's got, how many phones? Maybe 12 different phones. And it takes a photo, like a series of photos, and then puts them head to head. And then it's kind of like what do you call that system where it's like semi-finals, quarterfinals, finals
like a bracket
type situation where brackets, yeah. So you'll get half the phones knocked out in the first round, and then a quarter, and then down to the winning phone. That's a terrible explanation, but just if you're not familiar with it, just go to YouTube and type blind smartphone camera test MKBHD, I suppose. And the voting is done on Instagram from all the people who follow him on Instagram and YouTube. And it's nearly always just the brightest photo that wins. It's not normally like the most technically perfect one, although sometimes technical imperfections get picked up and that determines the winner. But yeah, normally it's just the brightest one. iPhone has never won a round before this year, like not even the very first round.
Right.
With its photo.
And the way this is done, it's done deliberately this way, but the photos are uploaded to Instagram this year and Twitter in the past, and these social media websites compress the images so much that you lose a lot of detail. Like, you're using a high-end camera, but you can't tell the difference between it and a cheap camera because they're both compressed and become blurry. You lose the sharpness of the nice camera. And so it's done this way deliberately to say, like, whose photos look the best on social media and, like, in a regular use case of a person using the phone. So, yeah, being technically impressive is not the leading factor in if you're going to win this kind of contest.
It's just an exposure and color test, not
right.
Not where I think the iPhone would win is if you looked at 100% crop and saw the detail in the photo and how the noise reduction was applied.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if he used one of those new like photographic styles or something on the iPhone, and then maybe. But yeah, using the iPhone's like always, at least compared to the competition, undersaturated photos, they're not going to do well side by side.
The winner was the Pixel 5a, which beat even this Pixel 6.
Right. And it's a little bit luck of the draw, right? Because even if every other photo that the Pixel 6 took would have gotten voted as better than the 5a, because that very first photo you saw them side by side and it got knocked out, you never got to see the Pixel 6's other photos to do like a full comparison in all these different conditions.
Right. Yeah, I definitely would not have picked the photo that ended up winning. It looked like far too drag up the clarity slider in Lightroom to artificially make a photo look good to me.
Yeah, and I have no eye for those things, and am the person who would drag those sliders all the way to say it looks better. So that's why I try not to touch my photos, because I'm scared if I edit them. I know there's a revert button, but I'm scared what I think looks good. One day I'm going to go back and it's like, oh, my whole photo library looks terrible, and I'm going to have to individually revert them all because I had no idea what I was doing.
Just play. That's how you learn, though. You got to mess around with the sliders, and then eventually you will think. Well, like you already have in your head, don't go too far because you might be overdoing something. So just actually a very common thing that you think about when photo editing is drag the slider to where you think it looks good, and then just knock off half of that slider.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's a very common tip given to people who are getting started or even experienced with editing photos.
Okay. Well,
but it is all lossless as well. So
right. All right. Well, that's 3 sentences.
Apple released iOS and iPadOS 15.2.
Yes, they did. Moving on.
There were a few things in the changelog.
Yeah, I did play around with some of the new features. Just prior to this, specifically the app privacy report. I wanted to see what that looks like, and it seems like once I just turned it on like an hour ago, so I only opened a few apps, and it's cool to see exactly like what domains they're all sending information back to, and there's some like maybe not specifically shady, but appears shady in the privacy report, was like Facebook isn't even sending it to domains. It's like just IP addresses. I have no idea what these IP addresses are that it's sending stuff off to. But I think now that I have it turned on, and as I use my phone and go back and check up on it occasionally, it'll be interesting to see things like, is my bank reporting stuff to Facebook for some reason, or things like that.
I wonder why it's not on by default.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems like it should be, but yeah, I was surprised to go in there and realize I had to turn it on.
It's also a couple of menus deep as well. So maybe they've done it like this so that you have to know what you're looking for, so that in the hope that you're also going to understand what this is about, and it's not just going to be like mum and dad who are messing around with their phone and then suddenly get this massive scare that their iPhone's doing all this shady stuff in the background without them knowing.
Yeah, I could see someone who didn't know better being very concerned about, what does this even mean?
I didn't even realize you had to turn it on, so I've turned mine on now. We'll see what comes up. Do you think I should expect? Oh wait, we're already got something happening. Cool. That was quick.
Yeah, you could just open a bunch of apps and then go back, and they'll all have entries in the report, assuming they try to contact a domain.
Well, apparently Safari has done something without me even opening Safari in the last 30 seconds.
I can tell you that the DoorDash app, Credit Karma app, and TimeHop app all use Firebase for their logging.
Amazing.
Yeah, kind of neat little insights.
Is Firebase like an analytics collector?
Firebase is it does a lot of things. It's like a Google's web tools. They've got hosted storage for applications. When I was in university, like my capstone project was creating a mobile application. I think I've probably talked about this before, but for tracking spread of tick species. And when I was developing that application, I used a Firebase database to host all that data. And also used Firebase to facilitate like logging into the application through single sign-on with Google.
Okay.
So it's like Google's version of Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or things like that.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Anything else in 15.2 worth mentioning?
Yeah, my wireless CarPlay doesn't work as good anymore.
Oh my god, my CarPlay has just been like shot in the head by this update.
Oh, really? So it's not just wireless.
I exaggerated slightly. It's bad now. 15.1 was awesome. I'd actually grown confident using CarPlay.
Mm-hmm.
Confident that if I plugged my phone in, CarPlay would appear on the dash, and that the steering wheel controls wouldn't somehow like change the radio station in the background and completely cut out what my CarPlay was playing.
Right.
I was pretty happy in 15.1, but it's all what's the word when you have a bug that comes back?
Recurring? I don't know.
No, there's like a specific word for bug fixing, and oh god, like degenerated or
regression.
Regression, yes, terrible regression in 15.2. Thank you.
Yes, I've never had those issues that you've described about like the controls not working, and I've never had an issue with CarPlay not popping up for me in the past in wired CarPlay. And I've never had the issue in wireless. I bragged about wireless when I first got my car and how it was even faster than wired. It popped up instantly. Once I got 15.2, there's like a 25% of the time it just won't come up on my car at all, and I have to restart my phone for it to come up. And when it's up, it will occasionally just disconnect and then reconnect.
Yes, I have that too.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's just a CarPlay in general issue. I was sure it was some kind of wireless thing.
No, sounds... Yeah, well, I thought it was just my car because I haven't heard of anyone else having these issues with CarPlay, but now it sounds like it's CarPlay.
Well, hopefully they can get it back to 15.1 quality in the near future.
I don't know if I'd call 15.1 quality. No, I did have other issues with Overcast and 15.1. It was, I don't know, I could rarely get Overcast playing.
Oh, okay.
But one of the bug fixes in 15.2 is that CarPlay will now update now playing information for certain apps. And I think that kind of sounds like the issue I was having. I don't know if I've tried Overcast since 15.2 just because of all these other issues I'm having. I've just been so distracted trying to get it to work at all.
Well, now I'm disappointed, and now I'm a little nervous because you've had CarPlay issues for a long time, and now I'm scared that they're not going to ever fix them.
Yeah, since I got CarPlay, basically.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal when it's happening to you, but now it's happening to me. There's problems. That's the American in me coming out.
Okay.
The Apple Music voice plan also debuted in 15.2, which I haven't heard any feedback on, positive or negative, yet, and it's not something that I've tried.
I don't think anyone I read or listen to would be in a boat where they tried just the voice plan, because it is for the casual Apple Music listener.
Right.
So, yeah, I've heard nothing about it. Absolutely zero until reading these release notes.
I wonder how many people will actually use it. I guess people who just own a HomePod, but I can't imagine just not paying an extra few dollars a month to have the full access.
Yeah.
There are some new child safety features. Some of the stuff we discussed a couple months ago came out in 15.2. Specifically, the feature that allows parents to enable like warnings on their kids' devices that'll pop up if they send or receive photos that contain nudity. Now, this has been whittled down a bit from what it initially was, because I think the feature where it will notify the parents is completely gone at this point. It's just a warning for the kids. And the other CSAM related security features, like all references to them, have been kind of removed from the documentation. So it sounds like whatever industry research they were doing, or whatever they had some professionals come in and consult on it. Seems like they've stepped back quite a few of their safety features.
Okay, interesting. So is this possibly going to be the only CSAM feature that we see for now?
It's the only one we have any reference to anymore. So maybe the other ones are being refined and will come later. But yeah, this seems like the extent of it for now. But like your device searching through your photo library for CSAM is like that seems to not be coming, at least in any time in the near future.
I mean, it doesn't search through your photo library. It's just as something is uploaded, it'll check it.
Right. But on your device versus after it's been uploaded on their servers.
Yeah.
So
you can designate a legacy contact now on your phone for when you pass. I know we've talked about this one before.
Yeah, I gotta sign you up as my legacy contact.
Oh yeah, well I assigned you as mine, so
It's only fair.
Yeah,
Now we can
exactly.
never be in the same room at the same time, or else both of our phones will be inaccessible if something were to happen.
Well, that's why I chose you, because we're just so far apart on the globe that when nuclear winter comes to North America,
One of us will
I'll be fine.
survive. Yeah. And when a drop bear gets you, then I can safely unlock your phone.
I am totally immune from drop bears because I keep a permanent smear of Vegemite on my top lip.
Oh, is that
And
what it takes?
That's what it takes. So never fear a drop bear attack around me. There are some rumors for the iPhone 14. I mean, they had to come sooner or later. This might not even be the first time we've had iPhone 14 rumors. In fact, it's definitely not. Maybe the first time we've talked about them, though. But the major point from this set of rumors is 8K video and a 48 megapixel camera and 8 gig of RAM. And I suppose all three of those are fairly connected, because you couldn't take an 8K video on a 12 megapixel camera.
Right.
And you'd probably need a lot of RAM to take to do any sort of smart processing on 8K of video and a 48 megapixel still as at the same time. Well, not, as well, I mean. Right.
I have just dismissed this entire rumor.
Okay, go on.
This Jeff Poo, the leaker, has not a great track record, and alongside these other leaks that he has with the iPhone 14, he says the base storage is decreasing again to 64 gigabytes, even though we just went up to 128 as base storage. And I don't think Apple's ever going to do that, especially if they're going to be adding 8K video recording in. They're not going to cut your storage in half at the same time. So I don't trust anything he's saying.
Maybe that's a different phone, like an SE3.
Yeah, 64 would be perfectly fine for an SE3. But
I wonder about 8K video, because the competitors have had 8K video for a little while now, although with a lot of asterisks after 8K, because usually it's limited in runtime, limited in frame rates. But they do have it, so it's something on the spec sheet for years now that the iPhone hasn't had. They are pushing the iPhone as a proper video camera, proper movie camera. People are making movies, making commercials. Not a lot of people are actually publishing in 8K, but to be able to record in 8K and then creatively crop it down to 4K is handy.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people like that.
And YouTube even supports 8K videos.
Yeah, it supports it, yeah. Not many people are playing them back at 8K, I'm sure.
And 8K televisions are starting to break into affordable territory now. You can get them around $2,000, which is higher end TV, but it's not the $6,000-$7,000 it was a few years ago.
So yes, an interesting spec to have. So 8K is like 30 something megapixels.
Okay.
That you required on the sensor to record that. So I guess we just get higher res photos now. Although some of those crazy high resolution phones use pixel binning to use, say, 100 megapixel sensor to make a 20 megapixel resolution image.
Oh, okay.
So even though we've got this high res camera, it doesn't necessarily mean we'll end up with a equally high res photo at the end of it.
I think we'll still probably end up with something above the 12 we have now.
I think it's certainly due, because we've had 12 for a long time.
Yeah. And it's honestly been fine. I mean, Apple is all but done away with. I remember every year when a new smartphone camera would come out, and it was just judged by its megapixel count. And that's how you knew if it was a good camera or not, is, oh, this one has 3 and this one has 4. And but Apple got to 12 and has stuck to 12 and proved that there's a lot more to a good photo than just the number of megapixels. But
such as the size of the pixels.
Right. This is not something I've ever actually done, but I've always liked the idea of being able to, if I ever took a photo I thought was worthy of it, being able to like blow it up to a sizable amount and to hang it somewhere, and that's certainly more doable with more pixels, and that's something you can't get around.
Yeah. You can still print plenty big with 12 megapixels, though.
That's true.
I mean, 12 megapixels have ended up on billboards, such as with the shot on iPhone.
Yeah.
Is it a competition or just a gallery? I think they have winners, don't they?
Yeah. I don't know if they got like actual prizes or if their prize was just being able to be in the ad campaign. But yeah, it was certainly a contest that people were submitting to. So yeah.
And when you're far enough away from a billboard, you only need like 10 dots per inch to have a decent resolution.
Right. Yeah. So maybe it wouldn't be valuable even in my hypothetical situation where I take the best photo of my life and want to, get it in like a 4-foot tall print or something.
I think it'd be fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you chuck on some AI upscaling beforehand. Those things are really good now. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I wonder how much bigger a 48 megapixel sensor would be and what that would look like on the already comically large cameras on these iPhones.
I think it would mean probably a similar size sensor and much smaller pixels.
Ah, okay. So I don't know enough about the details of cameras. What do we lose from those pixels being smaller then?
They don't work as well at high ISOs, I believe. They'll be noisier images. Yeah, I don't really know the nitty gritty.
Right.
But things like when Sony puts out cameras, they'll have like the R, which is the high resolution one, and that takes like bad video because it's such high resolution. Mm-hmm. And then they'll put out the S, which is a lower resolution, but can perform much better when it comes to high ISO and dynamic range and stuff like that, because the pixels are bigger and better at gathering light.
Okay. Well, that'd be a shame if Apple cost themselves their top seat as best video camera in a smartphone, which they've held on to for ever. I don't know that there's ever really been a camera that's overthrown them, except maybe, back in like iPhone 4 days.
Yeah. Have you looked at any ProRes video footage from the iPhone 13s?
No, I haven't. Have you?
It's quite nice. Oh, yeah. Well, just someone has put some side-by-sides on YouTube.
Okay.
It does look a lot more cinematic, I suppose, is one way of putting it. It does look, like nicer footage than just straight out of the camera JPEG, moving JPEG, whatever you want to call it. HEVC. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one feature that I will just never use.
You've got a YouTube channel, though. It's time you made something for it.
I've barely got a YouTube channel, and I assure you, any audience that I have on that channel is not there because of my high production quality.
I was at a Christmas party last night, mm-hmm. and someone had an old film camera there.
Okay.
And he was telling me all this stuff about this film camera, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then he's like, do you know where I learned all this? You reviewed this 4 years ago, and I watched your video on YouTube. I literally did not remember all these features of this camera.
Wow.
That I'd reviewed.
And so he started explaining it to you with the presumption that you would be like, oh yeah, I know all of this. Or
well, I think he like kind of the first thing he said was like a joke, like a knowing in joke, like, oh, you made this video and now I have this camera. And then obviously I didn't like react to that. like, oh yeah, that's the one I made the video about. I must have been like, oh cool, tell me more or something stupid like that. And then he just took me for a ride instead, which is warranted.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I actually now remember that you might have watched this video because you commented on it. It was on that Canon camera where you had to like pull the lever to pre-focus your photos. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do vaguely remember something about that. All of your obscure cameras blend together is like, oh yeah, all cameras are weird to me because I don't know how they're supposed to work.
Fair enough.
Oh, I apparently don't know what your YouTube channel name is.
It's just my name.
Oh, there's someone else with the YouTube channel, James VDM.
No, really?
Yeah.
This is an absolute disaster.
They've got
losing subscribers left, right, and center.
They've got one video from 9 years ago, and it's called Jesus the Big Lebowski.
Nobody F's with the Jesus. Yeah, there he is, James VDM. I wonder if this is the guy that always uses my email address to sign up for things.
Oh, do you get a lot of spam mail?
Oh, it's not spam. It's like legitimate email that this person uses because they just always mess up their email address when they're signing up for things.
Huh. That's why you need an obscure email address like mine that's just a bunch of numbers and letters. No one will ever accidentally type that in.
That would have done the trick. So I think Apple Arcade is amazing and doesn't get enough recognition, says Astral Crow on the subreddit.
On what subreddit?
The Apple subreddit.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that the one that we do our show after?
I didn't see this show post on here. I didn't see this last topic posted, so I thought you were just like reading a comment on our subreddit or something.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Now.
And I do pull topics from the iPhone subreddit as well, so.
Okay.
But this is from Apple. So their main point is that looking through top games on mobile, you're flooded with ads, hidden costs, pay to win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they find Apple Arcade brilliant, because it's missing all of that stuff. And they are designed differently from their core. Although I do kind of disagree with that, because often it's just the pay-to-win game and republished on Apple Arcade without all the in-app purchase stuff.
Yeah, it's just all unlocked already.
Yeah. The games on Apple Arcade feel like actual full-fledged games. I wouldn't really agree with that either, because there are some like really amateur games on Apple Arcade. I'm not sure if you've seen some, but they like smack of, I haven't made a game before, or I've made very few and I'm not very good at it, but here's my game.
Right. Yeah. It's I don't know. Apple Arcade was pitched as like this high level of curation where only really good games and developers could get into it. And yeah, it seems like whatever level of scrutiny they had for games is starting to diminish somewhat, although still a little higher than just general App Store. But I'm worried at some point Apple Arcade is going to degrade to the level of App Store, where there's just a bunch of garbage games that aren't good for anyone. It's going to really hurt the image and value of the service.
On the flip side, though, you're guaranteed not to have a pay to win or
That's true.
In-app purchase game.
Yeah, so the worst a game can be is bad, but it's not bad and also trying to scam you.
Yeah. And I guess you've already, you're not paying and then finding out that it's bad. You just have paid already, and then you can just delete it if you don't like it.
Right.
Are you actually playing anything on Apple Arcade at the moment?
No. I don't play games on my phone. Occasional crossword. So I don't play it. I find the value in it still, because the kids will download games from Apple Arcade to their iPods to play occasionally, and I don't really have to worry about if they're requesting to download an app from the arcade. I generally know that it's going to be safe. They're not going to be able to buy stuff, or it's not going to be inappropriate or whatever. So that's the biggest benefit that I have from it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've looked through it for games. There are very few that take my fancy, but yeah, have a look every now and then.
I've tried occasionally, like when Tiny Wings relaunched for free on Arcade Plus, I downloaded that for the nostalgia and then played it for a few minutes and thought that I was blown away by what passed as a good game, in 2010, and
That's so true.
promptly deleted it.
Yep.
So, but that's about the extent.
There's
of
some
my
serious
experience.
games on there too. Like there's the Final Fantasy game Fantasian on there. That's pretty decent.
Right.
Lego Star Wars on there. Pretty decent.
That's the problem. It's a hard balance that I think only a few games have really ever hit this sweet spot. You get games that are too casual in my mind, like Tiny Wings, where it's just not fun to play. And then you get games that are too big, like Lego Star Wars. It's like, I don't want to play a full-fledged game for 20 hours or whatever on my phone. So I'm not going to do that either. But there's like the sweet spot that occasionally someone will figure out that sits somewhere in between those two.
Mini motorways.
Mini Motorways is good. Trying to think of some other good ones. Angry Birds was a great example of that in the time. I liked Angry Birds quite a bit. Cut the Rope was a good short puzzle game that I liked. Can't think of anything else at the moment. Fruit Ninja is not an example of that. They fell on the other side of the spectrum. It was way too simple. I don't understand how people like those. Oh, you know what my favorite game ever on mobile was? It was Peggle. Did you ever play Peggle?
Peggle was like a classic game that came to mobile pretty late, didn't it?
Yeah. Not super late. It's like maybe 2009, 2010, I feel like.
Okay. There was a lot of hype around it, and then I played it and was like, I guess people like this for nostalgia because there's not much to it.
Really? I think I was a really big fan of PopCap, the game studio that made that. Peggle and Bookworm, I thought were great games that existed before mobile but translated really well to mobile. Then they got bought by Zynga, I think, and forced to just turn out a bunch of crap over and over, and they eventually basically stopped existing, and Bookworm and Peggle aren't even on the App Store anymore.
Okay.
But PopCap's the one that made Plants vs. Zombies, and so everything else they ever made ended up not mattering because everyone started focusing on that one franchise.
Plants vs. Zombies. That was huge, that game.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
I still got plushies around from Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah. And they made Bejeweled, Chuzzle.
Oh man, that hooked a lot of people.
Yeah, I liked all their games. I was a fan of theirs before Plants vs. Zombies. I'm a PopCap hipster.
Oh, it's owned by EA now, just like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's it then. All of our topics. We said a few words on each.
Good job.
Nice. Congratulations. And I am James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And the show notes, including the flying fence, will be on reddit.com/r/the/Apple-show.
Do you want me to post that, or are you going to upload it since you have it?
If you can put it somewhere, I'll just link to it. Like if you maybe put it on even Instagram or just Imager or wherever you want.
Okay. Yeah.
Even unlisted on YouTube might be a way to go.
Yeah. Can you upload videos to Imager?
Oh, Giphy is what I meant.
Can you upload videos to Giphy, or do I have to convert it to a GIF first?
I don't know. I'm not a Giphier.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'll figure it out. I'll send you a link to something.
Okay. As we were talking about HomePods before, I remembered that I've been thinking about the potential death of all HomePods. And have we talked about this? How there's a component in all original HomePods that is failing. And so it seems that they are running on borrowed time.
I don't know if we talked about it or if I heard someone else talk about it, but yes, I'm aware that they are slowly dying.
Yeah. I'm so sad as well. Such a great device. And it seems to be bulletproof because my kids now have just like dropped it or accidentally pulled it off the tables and stuff, and it's hit the floor, and I suppose it is well padded, but mine has been thoroughly mistreated. I've actually, even the power cable has had the fabric eaten away by a mouse.
Oh man.
I know. It's really been through the wars, but it sounds as good as day one, and I dread the death of it.
Yeah, I really hope that by the time my HomePods do eventually die, that Apple has some kind of suitable replacement, because I don't know what I'd replace them with if I had to, like today.
Just like bags full of HomePod minis?
Make like little totem poles out of them.
Oh my gosh, imagine that.
You could do one of each color. It'd be cute.
You could arrange them in an arch. Have like a rainbow arch.
If they had enough colors, that'd be kind of neat.
There are only like 2 colors and black and white, aren't there?
Yeah,
Or is it
they're
3?
like fall seasonal colors. It's like a yellow and an orange, and maybe they'll mix them up come springtime.
All right, so we'll get started on the totem pole then.
Right. They do need to, like, if HomePod Mini is going to be all they have, they need to let stereo pairing be more than 2, and like you should be able to make like a full surround sound or something out of them.
Because you want to have multi-channel audio, or just to fill a space? Because you can still just put like 4 in a room.
Yeah, you could put 4 in a room, but then 4 speakers playing mono audio is not as good as them doing like left and right and stuff in the room.
Yeah, okay. 2 stereo pairs then in a room?
I suppose that could probably work. But what if you want to do 3 and have like a center?
Yeah, the home app's going to have to get way better if we're going to do like proper multi-channel audio.
Right.
7.1.
They release a HomePod subwoofer.
Yeah. HomePod mini bass version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like they have... I mean, there's been some rumors in the last year or two about them working on bigger HomePods, either with or without a screen. So it seems like they're at least entertaining the idea. There's still that unified HomePod Apple TV device that seems like it could still be in the work or has been canned at this point, but they're clearly still exploring options there.
Yeah. I think they figured out that the high-end, in quotes, because it's not really the high-end, audios probably needs something else, though, besides just a smart speaker. I mean, like something with a screen or other functions to make it worth the price tag.
Right.
Air conditioning built in, maybe boil water, toast.
They just gotta support using them as like Wi-Fi transmitters, and that'd be so great.
They're out of that market.
I know.
It's never coming back.
They're out of the monitor market, but I'm pretty sure they're coming back to that eventually.
They're not out of the monitor market.
Well,
they make the most expensive monitor.
Okay, you're right. There was a time prior to the Pro Display XDR that they didn't have any monitors, so they can re-enter markets if they choose to.
Mm-hmm. You have to think there's one on the cards as well.
A new HomePod?
No, new screen, because there's just such a gaping hole there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd love for Apple to make a new monitor and pair it with some pro desktop computer that I don't need, but they could probably twist my arm into buying.